The Alaska State Constitution proclaims that all persons have a natural right to life and are entitled to equal rights, opportunities, and protection under the law. This declaration of truth and goodness embodies what the earliest Alaskans believed in and fought for. But tragically, for almost 5 decades, the promise of our Constitution has been denied to the most vulnerable, those not yet born. Today, abortion divides Alaska as it divides America. How can we overcome the atrocity of abortion and make Alaska safe once again for all her citizens? To envision a pro-life future, we must first understand our history and how we arrived at where we are today. When Alaska became a territory in 1912, the law was clear. Abortion was a crime, punishable as manslaughter. This law continued after Alaska became a state in 1959. But in 1970, before Roe v. Wade, the state legislature legalized abortion on demand. Despite its horrendous impact, the 1970 Act contained some restrictions. It did not permit abortions after viability. It required parental consent for minors. It said only licensed physicians could perform abortions, and it protected hospitals and healthcare workers who objected to abortion. Unfortunately, many of these restrictions fell victim to a combination of hostile court rulings and legislative inaction, leaving most of them unenforced. In 1982, pro-life activists sponsored a voter initiative to stop public funding of abortion. But the effort failed at the polls. This marked the middle of a decades-long period in which Alaska's abortion law remained stagnant. But the 1996 elections ushered in a much more conservative legislature, and finally, the cause for life gained traction. In 1997, the first pro-life laws were enacted since abortion's legalization 27 years earlier. Senator Lauren Lehman's bill to enforce parental consent won approval, as did a ban on partial birth abortions. Governor Tony Knowles vetoed both measures, but he was overridden by lawmakers. The following year, the legislature ended public funding of abortions. These successes triggered lawsuits from Planned Parenthood, setting the stage for what was to come next. In 2001, the state Supreme Court struck down the limits on abortion funding. Legislators responded with yet another bill to stop the funding, but it was vetoed by Governor Knowles. Without the votes for an override, public funds continued to pay for the killing of unborn children. Undeterred, pro-life lawmakers pressed forward. In 2004, the legislature approved Senator Fred Dyson's bill requiring that women seeking abortions receive information about their unborn children and the health risks of abortion. Governor Frank Murkowski signed the measure into law. But in 2007, the Supreme Court of Alaska handed down a stunning decision. After more than a decade of legal wrangling, a narrow 3-justice majority struck down the 1997 Parental Consent Act. The court claimed that while parental consent was not permissible, a parental notification law would be constitutional. Relying on this assurance, in 2010, Alaska Family Action launched a project to pass a parental notice law by initiative. Despite being outspent 3-1, the measure passed with 56% support. Fresh from this victory, Alaska Family Action once again tackled the vexing issue of abortion funding. Finally, in 2014, the legislature passed Senate Bill 49 by Senator John Coghill to eliminate funding for elective abortions. It was signed into law by Governor Sean Parnell. Then, in 2016, another setback. Despite their previous commitment, the Supreme Court handed down a 4-1 ruling, striking down the voter-approved parental notice law. Chief Justice Craig Stowers dissented from the majority's opinion, writing, "The court's decision today totally undermines parents' rights and responsibilities and makes a mockery of its earlier proclamations. We need to amend our Alaska Constitution to empower legislators and remove abortion policy from the hands of unelected judges." While this amendment is a long-term goal, Alaska Family Council is focused on advancing other policies that would help protect life now, including ending all state funding for groups that perform or promote abortion, banning late-term abortions, enacting tighter health standards for abortion clinics, requiring a 24-hour waiting period before abortion, and protecting freedom of conscience. While this progress is noteworthy, Alaska Family Council will not rest until every unborn child is welcomed in life and protected by law. Since our founding, we've been in the forefront of helping to build a culture of life in Alaska through education, legislative advocacy, and political engagement. We've made a positive difference and saved lives. But with your help, we can do so much more. Please join us in the fight for life in the last frontier.